I do get somewhat miffed when
Mm,
the reality of the game turns out to be something very different than I thought it was.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I think it's extremely important that your marketing strategy and the idea that it gonna gives to gamers of the game is as close to reality of the game's kind of felt experience as possible. Of course, in a positive light, but
Mhm.
it needs to really mesh.
Yeah. I I mean, like I think that that's a really good point, and I totally agree with you. Do not sell people or market things that the game is not. But me personally, if I played a Souls-like game and then I realized that it had roguelike elements to it, I would never. I'd be like, why didn't you tell me there was roguelike in this? I mean, I feel like Souls-like games have a roguelike structure. From what you described, I'm not a huge roguelike player, but roguelike is kind of a restarting the level, building up on your uh, character build, and then moving forward, and a lot of repetition throughout the game. So I think people could define a lot of Souls-like games as roguelike. But you that's a really good point, and I'm not going to argue with that at all. Like, market the game, make sure people are very clear on what they're getting.
Actually, brings to mind one of the more hard learnings for me during the project has been being much more aware of what expectations gamers have for specific genres. And like how you describe roguelikes, for someone who is not actually very familiar with the genre, like that makes total sense.
Yeah.
But then when you take, even when it comes to Souls likes, I think people have different understandings and some different emphasis on, okay, these are the elements that make Souls like. And then for roguelike fans, then the elements that they would feel are actually kind of fundamental and create the experience are very different, probably, compared to what you listed.
Yeah.
This is actually kind of one of the key traps, and why I mentioned earlier that when, especially when it comes to new developers, but even more experienced ones, when you start kind of combining elements from another genre, it's need to be really careful with the research to understand the what are the anchors, what are the elements that people expect of those genres, and it's not even the ones that people and gamers explicitly tell. There are hidden ones that basically are never brought up in various conversations. It's just the kind of things that if they are not there, then people start complaining, but they are just so baked in to the kind of genre formula that kind of even experienced game devs more very often don't even notice.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that touches on a point that you definitely are not. But the idea that you could just research like a popular genre of game on Steam that you've never played before and go, oh, that game's popular. Let me just knock out one of those and then expect it to be big is like you're just setting yourself up to be murdered by reviews. Um,
uh, Indeed.
yeah.
Like that's maybe one of those scenarios where it would make sense to do a total and gonna game clone, genre clone.
Yeah.
Again, more of a kind of learning project, but
Yeah.
you could maybe utilize that as a base and start kind of mutating some elements. But when you really actually have the kind of base up and running, and that process probably would also help you understand in more tangible and design-driven fashion
Mhm.
the kind of why some of those elements are there.
As a learning process, it would be a great, like doing a master copy painting of like the Mona Lisa or something. Like, as a learning process, find a popular game, try to copy it as best as possible. In the process, you'll learn a lot about it, and possibly it could be a hit. Probably not, but it would be a good start for a developer.